Hey guys, my name is Matt Johnson with WhoisMatt.com, and if you want to buy a MacBook Pro for mobile 4K video editing in 2020, I have two recommendations for you at two very different price points. The first recommendation is for you if you are on a budget, and it will save you some money while still giving you a capable machine for 4K video editing for about $2,600. Alternatively, if you have more to spend and want to edit 4K or higher resolutions like 6K or raw video, etc., my second recommendation is for higher budgets at $3,900. Also, you should know that I'm making these recommendations with all video editing software in mind. So regardless of whether you edit in Final Cut or Premiere or Vinci Resolve, these MacBooks will work great for you. Let's start with the more budget-friendly option for $2,600. And I realize that if I say the word budget and also $2,600, that may not seem like budget to you, but this is Apple we're talking about here, and if you want a powerful device, you're gonna have to pay for it. As an alternative though, if you can't swing these prices, I've created a budget video editing laptop buyer's guide with several laptops available today for under $1,000 that will edit 4K video easily. I'll link to that video up in the corner and down in the video description. Now, let's talk about MacBooks. First things first, you should know that Apple is planning on transitioning all their computers from Intel to ARM processors over the next 2 years. This means you may see better battery life and more processing power whenever Apple decides to release these new ARM MacBooks. So, my recommendation to you is that if you can wait another year or two to upgrade your computer, it may be worth it to do so. That said, don't be afraid to buy one of these Intel-based MacBooks that I'm recommending in this video. Apple has said that they will continue to support them for the foreseeable future with updates, so I feel comfortable telling you to buy them. If you want to know more about Apple's transition to ARM CPUs and their Apple Silicon processors, I've created a video explaining what this all means for video editors that I'll link to up in the corner and down in the video description. Moving on to laptop recommendations. If you want to edit 4K video on an Apple laptop, I would completely exclude the MacBook Air and the 13-inch MacBook Pro from your considerations. Why? Because even kitted out with the higher-end processors available for them, are still not going to be able to handle video editing well from either a power or heat generating perspective. Also, they don't include a dedicated graphics card, which for video editing is essential, especially for higher resolution video. These smaller Apple laptops are going to handle quick bursty works like spreadsheets and web browsing fine, but once you throw video editing at them where the processor is forced to continuously work as it plays video, the computer will start to overheat and throttle back performance, and you will not be nearly as productive. Because of these reasons, the only Apple laptop that I recommend for video editing is the 16-inch MacBook Pro. Let's start with the more budget-friendly option for this laptop. Starting off, choosing the left option, I would recommend going with the 6-core 9th generation i7 processor with 4.5 GHz turbo boost. This is the minimum that I would recommend for 4K video editing. But if that is all you are doing and you aren't planning on editing 6K or raw video, you should be fine. Continuing with the bare minimum, moving on to memory, I would go with 16 gigabytes. Again, for 4K video, this should be plenty, but I would be aware that it's going to be difficult to multitask with this amount of memory. So, if you want to say, be editing video while browsing the web, watching a YouTube video, and editing an image in Photoshop, you are probably going to run out of memory. Because of that, if you multitask, I would upgrade to 32 gigabytes. But like I said, this is the budget option, so I would recommend 16 gigabytes to keep the price down. Also, I would keep in mind that Apple does not allow you to upgrade the MacBook memory after you purchase it. It is soldered to the motherboard. Actually, Apple doesn't let you upgrade anything after the fact, so make sure that you choose properly whenever you're picking out your laptop specs. Up next, we have graphics. From my research, spending $200 to upgrade to the Radeon Pro 5500M with 8 gigabytes of memory is a great choice. This isn't going to cost you a ton more, but that upgrade from 4 gigabytes to 8 gigabytes of video memory is going to make a huge difference when editing 4K video. You may have also noticed that $800 upcharge for the Radeon Pro 5600M graphics card with 8 gigabytes of memory. We'll talk about that in a second whenever we talk about my more expensive MacBook laptop recommendation. For now, let's talk about storage. Surprisingly, the base 512 gigabyte SSD is actually great, and that's what I would go with. You can upgrade this to 1 terabyte if you want, but I think 512 is plenty for the operating system and programs. You can then edit your videos off an external SSD, which I guarantee will be much cheaper than any SSD that you can get from Apple. I will link down in the description to external SSDs that I recommend for video editing. And that is your $2,400 MacBook Pro for budget 4K video editing. I find that it strikes a nice balance between performance and price. You're telling me now, though, that you want more power, though. You want the best MacBook for video editing, regardless of the cost. Don't just go to Apple's page and pick all the most expensive options, though. You don't need to do this. You should be smart about it for video editing. Let's start with the option on the right. For processor, this may surprise you, but I would recommend sticking with the 2.3 gigahertz 8-core i9 processor with Turbo Boost to 4.8 gigahertz. Save the $200 on this upgrade. From my research, the difference between these two processors is negligible at best, so I would instead save that money and put it toward other upgrades. Moving on to memory, 32 gigabytes is going to be the sweet spot for 4K video editing and multitasking, so you can continue to use your laptop while rendering a video in the background. That said, if you find yourself editing longer videos in high resolution, say 4K, 6K, 8K video that's over an hour in length, talking head interviews, etc. In that situation, I would recommend upgrading to 64 gigabytes of memory. Up next, we have graphics, and this is where things get interesting and more expensive. In June 2020, Apple updated the MacBook Pro 16-inch, but the only upgrade was to the graphics card. A new option appeared, the Radeon Pro 5600M with 8 gigabytes of HBM2 memory. At an eye-watering $700 upgrade, this new graphics card ain't cheap. But if you edit videos higher than 4K resolution, so 6K or 8K, or if you edit RAW video, this graphics card is definitely the one you want to get. It is going to offer faster and smoother playback for even the most taxing video resolutions and codecs. Of course, if you are just editing plain old 4K 8-bit resolution footage, you can save your money and get the Radeon Pro 5500M with 8 gigabytes of memory. It should be fine. But if you are planning on upgrading your camera or editing higher resolution or RAW video in the future, get the 5600M. Let's wrap up with storage. Like the budget system where I said 512 gigabytes of SSD storage is plenty, 1 terabyte SSD storage is plenty-er. So that means I don't think the $400 upgrade to 2 terabyte is necessary, and I would just edit off external SSDs. With that, those are the Apple laptops that I would recommend for mobile 4K video editing in 2020. And if you edit on Final Cut, I think these are great options for you. But if you edit on Premiere or Vinci Resolve, I would highly recommend considering a Windows laptop running AMD's new Ryzen processors. Some of these laptops will edit video faster than the $3,900 higher budget MacBook I recommended, while still coming in at under $1,000. It is such a good value that I would say that you should at least consider it. I will link to my budget 4K video editing laptop video down below. With that, thank you so much for watching. I hope this video has been helpful to you with buying a MacBook Pro. Also, it would be a huge help to me if you would consider liking this video and subscribing if you want to see more videos like it in the future. Lastly, if you happen to be a wedding filmmaker like me, that means you probably edit a lot of wedding films and you're probably looking at a video editing laptop. But you probably also want to book more couples and film more weddings. To help you out with that, I've created a free guide that will show you steps that you can take right now in your business to book more couples and film more weddings. It's a free gift to you. You can download it at the video description down below. Thanks so much for watching and have a great day.